Well, the paper that we did, it's a joint study with Maggie Abernethy and Jennifer Grafton from the University of Melbourne, is where we look at strategic change of organizations. So that's change in terms of repositioning in the market and structural adaptations like new business structures, new management layers, new responsibilities for managers. What we basically want to investigate is the role of management controls in facilitating those strategic changes. So we use a panel of data of Australian firms. It comes from the Australian Bureau of Statistics and some data from the Australian Tax Office. And we look at changes that were initiated by Australian firms between 20 employees and 200, so it's mid-sized firms, and the effects of those changes on operational changes in the next year. So that's innovations on the work floor, production methods, distribution methods, and subsequent effects on firm performance. So changes in performance in income from sales of goods and services, profitability and productivity of those organizations. And basically we look at the effects of planning, strategic planning, and the effects of performance measurement by these organizations. So what we find is when firms, and we measure it in 2005, is when they initiate strategic changes, that these are supported or facilitated by the process of strategic planning. So if firms make more business plans, they make strategic plans, or they use forecasting models, budget forecast basically, and competitive benchmarking. Those firms are more likely to initiate changes in either market repositioning or also structural adaptation, and that those effects of the strategic changes have future effects on operational changes. So in the future, they're more likely to initiate changes at the operational level, but only for those firms that more intensively use performance measurement information. So what we also theorize in the paper is performance measurement information helps firms to implement change. It helps to guide people, to hold people accountable for their actions, to incentivize people. And that's what we also see in the findings, is that strategic change is more likely to result in operational changes, conditional on the use of performance measurement systems. And then we also see that the operating changes are more effective, so translate in better firm performance if firms make more intensive use of those performance measurement systems, or performance measurement information is better. Well, what I think is, in particular, what we see in the data is that there's a lot of reasons, in particular relating to constraints, competitive effects, regulatory effects, labor market effects, why a change is needed. And then we see that strategic planning is associated with, I guess, the guidance of these changes, strategic changes. So investments, basically thinking about strategic planning processes, what kind of information is needed to make the right kind of decisions on which kind of changes are required and how to adjust the internal organization. And then how, I guess, the role of performance measurement information facilitates implementing those changes effectively. And again, it's sort of, I guess, a cost-benefit or an investment trade-off that firms have to make, and how much do we want to invest in our control systems. And I guess one of the issues that our paper or our study brings forward is that under those conditions, there's value in having more advanced information, both at the planning side and on the measurement side.